Hi, welcome to episode 295 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffyk on Ravelry, Fluffykira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I sell my handspun yarns and patterns in my Etsy shop, also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, September 14th, and boy, has it been a cluster of a day for me. I hope that you are doing well. I should preface this by saying nothing is really wrong here, just nothing quite going right today. I hope this episode finds you well and healthy and surviving a myriad of things. Here in the States, there's the pandemic, there's the elections hoopla, there are fires all over the West Coast. There's back to school, there's just a little bit of everything, and I hope that you are weathering the storm okay, and that this week brings you a little bit of peace and joy in your comfort in your crafting. So my day started with, I got up extra early because I had a bunch of doctor's appointments today, and I should say that I have been pretty much a homebody since the beginning of the pandemic. I had a few doctor's appointments right before the pandemic started, and then I canceled a bunch of them, but here we are more than 6 months in, and I had some of my annual exams, and some of my prescription medication is dependent on those exams. So I could not cancel this time, so I was getting ready to spend a large chunk of the day out of the house wandering around between various medical facilities, and so I got up super early this morning to try and get a little bit of work in before I left for the day. And the first thing that happened is none of my computers would connect to our router. Not having internet in the age when you can't really go most other places is not the most comforting. So I went downstairs, and it turns out my husband's computer was on the internet. I have all Apple products, and he does not. I have, so I have a desktop, I have a laptop, and I have an iPhone, and none of them would connect to the internet, but all of his devices would. He was in the middle of a big conference call, and so I could not reboot the router as I normally would have done. And so in a panic, I kind of just gathered everything that I needed, my laptop, all the things I needed for my doctor's appointments, some knitting, and I left. And I got in the car trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I decided that my best bet would be to squat in the... Squat being a term like park myself in the parking lot of the Starbucks and hope that I could work from the car. So it actually worked perfectly. There is a Starbucks just a few miles from my house. It was not super busy. The drive-thru was super busy this morning, but the regular parking lot was not. And so I parked in a parking spot, and for 90 minutes, luckily it was only in the low 70s Fahrenheit this morning, which was really beautiful. So I rolled down my windows, and I parked in kind of a far corner of the parking lot. I rolled down my windows. It was nice and breezy, and I sat for 90 minutes and worked, which was great. Then before I left, I went through the drive-thru and got a coffee and left a nice tip, so I felt like I was covered there. And then I headed off to my appointments. I had my annual mammogram today. Please don't forget those, even though times are fraught with uncertainty right now. Don't miss cancer screenings. That's my plug. Everything came back nice and clear, and I wasn't particularly worried about it, but I decided that that was one of the things that I was not going to skip. So I went and took care of that, and then I had an annual exam this afternoon with my physician. And that went fine as well, and I also got my flu shot, so 2 birds, 1 stone. But I had several hours to kill in between, I had 2 hours basically between when I finished my mammogram this morning and my doctor's appointment, and home was like a half an hour away, so it was really not worth going home because I would have wasted time driving. So I went to my second Starbucks of the morning, and redid the plan again, and then as I finished and moved myself to my next doctor's appointment, I went ahead and went through their drive-thru and got a breakfast sandwich kind of for lunch, and another iced tea, which I am drinking right now. I'm still drinking it. It's a couple hours old. I've put ice in it twice, so it's a little bit diluted right now. But this is a Starbucks green iced tea. It's green tea, and it also tastes a little bit minty. I just put a hint of sweetener in. So you didn't even get me making my own tea today, but I feel like, okay, I'm keeping Starbucks in business for today. And then I had a conference call in the parking lot of my doctor's office for work, because I actually could connect in via my phone. And so I went ahead and did that. And while I was in the middle of the conference call, again, I was parked in a far corner of the parking lot, had the windows open. A enormous praying mantis flew into my car. It was probably like 2.5, 3 inches long. And so there are some photos on my Instagram. There is a photo on my Instagram if you would like to see that. So I got through my doctor's appointment, got home about 3:30 in the afternoon, after leaving at about 9:30 this morning, and I worked for the last hour, and now it is, well, hour and a half, and now it is about 5 o'clock, and I am recording a podcast. So this was definitely one of those days where I got almost nothing done. And tomorrow's going to be kind of a beast because of it. But that was my day. So that explains the title of this podcast, which is What a Cluster. And that was my day. So like I said, nothing really wrong. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's fine. But even in the pandemic, there are sometimes frustrations with getting things done. Normally, if my house internet were sketchy, I would just go to a Starbucks or somewhere, or the library or anywhere, and set up shop for the day. But it is, of course, more complicated by the fact that I do not want to go sit in restaurants and cafes for the day, because at least in the United States, the CDC recently has said that a lot of their cases are tied to restaurants opening up again. So we've covered the tea. Let's go on to the crafting. I don't have anything real new to show you this week. I have made progress on a lot of my works in progress. And so I will show you a bunch of those. I don't believe I'm going to be doing any casting on this week, at least none that I can talk about. I do have another sample coming in the mail from Knitpicks, but they do not permit me to share them until after they are launched. So I should not have any other cast-ons that I won't show you unless, well, there's one small thing, but I'll talk about that. So let's talk about what I've got in progress. All of these you have seen, you saw last week. One is Roxy's Harry Potter scarf. My niece, who is 6, almost 7, is reading Harry Potter by herself, and she absolutely loves it. In fact, I did a Zoom chat with her over the weekend, and she came to the call dressed as her favorite character, which happened to be Professor Trelawney. She was really cute. She had a blanket draped over her shoulders like a shawl, and she had beads and glasses and everything, and my parents, who are not as up on Harry Potter characters as I am, did not know who she was, but I got points for identifying who she was. Anyway, she is definitely excited about being a Gryffindor and loves Hermione and Harry. And so I am knitting her her very own Harry Potter scarf. I'm also going to do a matching hat and mitts. I am using Barocco Ultrafine Wool, which is a superwash merino. I chose that because it specifically says that it is machine washable. It says, the care instructions say, for best results, place in a mesh wash bag, machine wash in cold water on delicate, tumble dry low. For a 7-year-old, machine washable is necessary. Accidents do happen. So I am working in 2 colors for the scarf. This is Sour Cherry and this is Butternut. And I had 2 skeins of the Sour Cherry. This is the second one that I have already broken into, and then I had 1 skein of the Butternut. I did cut my fringe before I even started the project so that I didn't have to worry about running out. And then I decided to model my scarf out of Harry Potter and the Prince of Azkaban, and so it is the large stripes of the Sour Cherry and the smaller stripes of the Butternut. And so I read up online, I went looking, and the standard or the official Harry Potter scarf has 14 red sections and 13 sections of the stripes. So I kind of did some math to see how long, based on how long I wanted the scarf to be, how long each section should be, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections in out of my 14 sections. So that means I've been working on a section a day roughly since I started. I skipped one day last week. I think I skipped Wednesday because it was knit night and I was working on something else. But otherwise, I've pretty much knit a section a day and plan to keep going until I finish. This should be finished this week, and then I will try, and I ordered a third skein of the sour cherry, and my plan is to do a sour cherry hat and mitts. I haven't selected the patterns for those yet, so I suppose those could be cast on by the time I see you next, if I haven't, if I've gotten through this. And then if I have some yellow left, which I think I will, or some of the butternut left, I will probably try and add some stripes. But I don't know yet what I'm going to have left and how much. And so we will see. We shall see. And I will hopefully crank out this set for her by the end of September. So it's September 14th today. So half the month is gone, and I'm very close to done with her scarf. Just a few more days working on that. So that will get a section this evening. Very pleased with how that's coming out. The yarn it's not super soft, but it's not super scratchy either. And I suspect that once I wash it, I will wash it and dry it before I send it to her. And I suspect that once I do that, it will probably soften up a little bit. So I think it's just a good... I really like Barocco yarns, and they're good workhorse yarns, you know, that are machine washable. And that is just really... where it's at when you're knitting for kids. So that is, I'm hoping to finish Roxy's set this month. I still have other things to do for both kids. You know, it doesn't matter how early I start in the year. These are all holiday gifts, and it doesn't matter how early I start in the year. I still always find myself kind of pushing towards the end. I keep having to remind myself that I do have October and November to craft. Miles still needs another hat. I ordered yarn for it and it came in, so you'll be seeing that at some point in the future. And then I also need to knit him socks, so that will be happening as well. So that is one project. The second project I have been focusing on, and these two are probably the projects that have seen the most. They are because I'm trying to crank them out and get them done, and because one is a sample. So the second project that I have been, oops, I'm dragging all kinds of fiber and fuzz with me. The second project that I have been working on is the Hope and Feather shawl. That is by Mary Annarella, and she is known as Lyrical Knits. And the Hope and Feather shawl is named after a line in an Emily Dickinson poem, and it is a fairly new pattern, and if you sign up for Lyrical Knits newsletter, you can receive the pattern for free. Otherwise, it is available for purchase on Ravelry. It is a 2-skein shawl pattern. It involves some mosaic slip stitch. So you're working with 2 colors, but you're actually only working with 1 color per row, meaning that you're just slipping the stitches of the other color to create patterns and designs. And I am using Zen Yarn Garden yarns. This is a sample for them. And I am working in 2 colorways. One is their Zen Yarn Garden Nightshade Fingering, which is their newest base, and it is a 3-ply fingering weight where one of the plies is black. And this is in the colorway Peach Blossom, which is orange and yellow and green, and I've actually sort of been referring to it as peas and carrots because that's a little bit what it reminds me of. I guess peas and carrots and corn, so mixed vegetables. I know that's a terribly unromantic way of saying it, but that's what I've been thinking of it as, but the colorway is technically Peach Blossom, and like I said, it's 100% superfine merino. One of the plies is black, and the other 2 plies are white and take the yarn dye. And then I am contrasting it with a skein of a Zen Yarn Garden superfine merino. This is basically the same thing, but no black ply, and this is just in the natural colorway. And the colors are interacting. I had very little to show you last week, so I have more this week. This shawl is designed in alternating what she calls half garter stitch sections. and then the mosaic sections. So there was just a little bit of a start up at the top in the main color, and then there was this nice section of mosaic knitting, which as you can see sort of zigzags, and then you have a section of the what she calls the half garter stitch, and that's got some garter ridges and some stockinette, and that was in the main color. And then we had another large section of kind of the zigzag mosaic stitch, and then we did a half garter section of the contrast color, and then we went back into another mosaic section, and I am working on well, I guess it's the 7th section of the shawl, which is another half garter. Then I have another mosaic, another contrast color, and then the edging. So I had been working on this a section a night, which is how I made such good progress this past week. Of course, now the sections are a little bit too big. This one, basically the mosaic section and the little bit of the garter stitch section that I have done, that took me 2 nights. I hope to finish the garter stitch section tonight and then spend another couple nights on the mosaic, another on the garter stitch, and hopefully I will be done and blocked in time to show you this next weekend. So it's going to be a nice sizable shawl. It's an asymmetrical triangle. Like I said, it starts at a point up here. The pattern is well written. The mosaic section is either charted or written instructions, whichever you prefer. And it has been a nice knit. Like I said, the sections are just a little bit too lengthy at this point with the shawl as wide as it is to get through a section in an evening. But I have really I do one section on Roxy's scarf and one section on this shawl each night, and so that has been keeping me super busy this past week. Now I'm looking at, I think I spotted a mistake at one point, but it's just a small one, but I don't know if I'll rip back and deal with that. Well, that's not exciting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I'll do about that, but hopefully no one else will notice. So that is what I've got going on here, and I will continue to work on that, and hopefully I will have both of those to show you finished by the time we meet next. Under the attitude of bringing everything that I've worked on, even if I haven't worked on a ton, I did work a little bit more on my sweater this week. And as I told you, do as I say, not as I do. I discussed that the bottom section of my sweater is a little bit darker than the top section of the sweater, and I was going to continue on in the body. However, I was doing a knit night with friends, and I was sitting in light that was not that great, and I have to pick out my skeins carefully so that I can make sure that I continue on the bottom with the darker skein and use the lighter skeins for the sleeves, and I couldn't figure out which ones were the darker skeins, but I knew that the biggest ball that I had left was a lighter skein. So basically what I did is I went ahead and hi. So the astute among you will notice that I look completely different today. It is now Tuesday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My camera battery died yesterday in the middle of my sharing projects with you, and of course, it was just another one of the things in yesterday's fun day. So it is a new day. I charged the camera overnight. I will finish up now and get this one up, and unfortunately this will be late again, which I do not enjoy. Okay, so when I left off, I was talking about my Elfie sweater by Astrid Schramm. I was talking about the difference between the top and the bottom because I did not alternate my indie dyed skeins. And basically what I was getting to just as the camera shut down is that I started a sleeve. So the Elfie sweater does not have sleeves. I went ahead and picked up stitches so the Elfie sweater has you basically work top down with contiguous set-in sleeves, or sleeves using the contiguous method, and so you continue to work down, and it's a little bit like raglan shaping, not entirely, but you end up for the Elfie basically just binding off up, creating little sleeve caps. And what I did is I just put those on hold, and then I picked up some of the stitches from the underarm, and I am working down the sleeve. So this is what I worked on the other night. It's interesting because the camera shows it more stripy than I think it shows up in person. I'm using a single skein for this. I have one large skein, and I think it will be enough to do both sleeves. Again, this is spun right round in her 80/20 sport nylon, and it is in the colorway The Walkers, which is gray, and then it's got these great speckles of purple and yellow and green. So I have not done a ton. This was last Wednesday's knit night. I'll probably work a little more on this at this week's knit night, and then I will go back to, well, I'll probably finish the sleeves and then go back and finish the body. My hope is still that I'll finish this by the end of the month, but we shall see. So it just depends how things go. It's on the list, and I would love to wear it. Our weather this week went back up a little bit. We had a super cold last week. We went down to 60 degrees and then to 50 and to 40, and we had rain and stuff, and then this past weekend we went back up to 75 or 80, and that is what it has been all this week, although today it is a little bit overcast. So but I am looking forward to finishing this and having a new sweater to wear this fall. And just to show you, this is, I don't know how well it will show up, but it's just got some really beautiful purple and green bits, and I really love it, even if it's going to make my complexion look dead. So that is that one. I was almost done showing you the knits because really I don't have that much more to show you. Under the category of if I worked on it a little bit, I should show it to you. I am working still on my mom's sock. I did not get very far. I believe last time when I showed it to you, I had a few repeats up at the top. Maybe I had started the heel flap. I don't remember. I finished the heel flap and I'm working on the gusset now. And so this is what I have so far. The pattern is called Wishing You Were Here, and I believe I misattributed it last week to the wrong designer. This is Kitchen Sink Dye Works, I believe, and it was a free pattern. It's just a little bit of a lace panel right at the side, so you can see it's just like on the front and down the side of the sock, and of course it will mirror for the other one. So I just wanted a little something, and the yarn actually looks quite a bit like my sweater yarn. This is Moon Rover in her wild base. She is not, her Big Cartel shop is not up, and so I don't know if she's ever coming back. But I really like her sock yarn. I have a few skeins. It's super squishy, and so these are the socks for my mom. I'm hoping maybe I'll finish this one this week and then move on to the other one. Again, I'm hoping to finish all of these projects in September, probably partially because I'm crazy, but because I would like to get lots of things done in September and move on to new projects for October. I still have some holiday gifts I would like to get to. I have more samples coming in, and I have more knits that I would like to do. So that is what I have for the knits to show you. I am still working on my crochet blanket. I believe I have 10 or 11 more stripes to go, and then that will be done. Well, it needs a border, but then that will be done. So by the next time you see that, that should be done as well, hopefully by the end of the month. I know I sound like a broken record here, but I really believe I can get through. These projects are in good standing to be finished by the end of the month. I forgot to bring up my bobbin actually. So yesterday when I was talking to you, I had not finished spinning the singles on my bobbin for the Fat Cat Knits Leela, which I actually ended up spinning sort of as a gradient. I divided the braid lengthwise in half. So I basically took the whole braid and fluffed it out and divided it in half, and then I spun end to end for each section. I mirrored it, so I spun one end start to finish and the other one finish to start, so that I could 2-ply it and I would get a 2-ply gradient yarn. So I am done with the singles for that. I need to wind that off the bobbin and then ply that. This week is the final week of Tour de France. So the actual bike race. So I anticipate that I will be working on that this week as well, although I'm not sure exactly when, because I have so much knitting I would like to get done. So I did pull another braid, which I will start on once I finish that other. And this is a club from this year, I believe. It is from January 2020. It is called Watercolor, and it is a Falkland. And so it is actually what I think of as Hello Yarn's some of her signature colors. It is kind of a mulberry or burgundy color. It's got some brown and kind of rusty colored, and then it's got that kind of icy blue in there. So watercolor, that will be going up in the shop. I don't know how I'll be spinning this yet, but that is kind of next on my wheel, and it is super soft and lovely. So that's what I'm doing spinning wise. So I think I mentioned a few other things. I have a client who is collecting hats for special needs kids, so I'm hoping to maybe cast on a couple hats for small heads this week. I have, they're collecting them in time for Halloween. I don't know if they'll be distributed by Halloween, but I have like a half a ball of some orange yarn, like a rusty pumpkin colored yarn, so I think I'm going to try and knit a little pumpkin hat out of that, and then see what else I've got in stash that I could use to create some hats. So you might see some of that before next time. But otherwise, I think I'm going to try and stick to all the projects that I'm already partway through so that I can finish these up for September. So I hope that this podcast finds you well and slightly less in a cluster than it found me. I hope that you and your family are healthy, that you are surviving everything that 2020 is throwing at us, and that you find a little bit of peace and joy in your crafting. I will say until I see you next week, and next week I really hope that I will be on time. Happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and yes, it's a new glass of tea on a new day. See you next time. Bye.